city council to order. Agenda additions from staff tonight.
None.
None. Any agenda additions from council? Seeing none, we'll move right along. Consent agenda. Somebody like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda, or would you like something pulled for further discussion?
Motion to approve.
Thank you, thank you. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, thanks. We're gonna drop down here tonight, and we got Justin here to give a report on our 2024 audit. Welcome, and come on up, Justin. You ready to go? Well, you got 11
make
minutes,
sure
you
of
got
that.
11 minutes.
All right, well, thanks for having me at your meeting tonight, Mayor Council. I always do like to just start by just saying a quick thank you for having us as your audit firm, we appreciate it. I also like to just say a quick thank you to staff for all the help as part of the process, we couldn't have done it without them, so thank you to them as well. Is my presentation be up? Is it, so I know on the screen, are you guys gonna have it in front of you?
Yep.
So I don't remember page numbers or anything.
Yeah.
That longer.
Okay.
Second here.
If it's easier to not do it, totally fine with that too.
See, it's, I got it in the packet here.
That was quick. Awesome. All right. So in intro, I will just go over the audit results for our hired, go over our opinion and share some of the findings, just the one this year. We'll go over the general fund results as well as some of the other governmental funds, the enterprise funds, and close with some KPIs or some key performance indicators comparing the city to others. The audit results for 2024 are clean unmodified opinion, which is the opinion that the city is looking for. So we arrived at our opinion by testing a number of around paying the bills, employees, looking at utility billing transactions, property taxes, what the council gets to make decisions, etc. So with that, we do have one finding that is consistent with the city year over year for somewhat of a small city finding that we'll go over on the next slide. I do like to also just point out that as part of our audit, we did test those sort of statutes and compliance with those statutes. The Office of the State Auditor does put guys on the website that we are required to test as part of our audit. A couple examples of those items would be time of payment of bills, and any lack of conflicts of interest with anybody in the city or the council. So no non-compliance as part of the testing for the director. So we're all good clean audit related to that. Again, the finding this year, consistent to the last few years, or for as long as I've been here, probably preparation of financial statements. Again, the audit firm did prepare the financial statements, just with our knowledge of the ASB standards, what goes into the financials, etc. We do just point this out as a risk as it is the city's financial statements. And again, this is one that's been consistent, is present in a lot of communities across the state. So the next slide we have is called the general fund reserves. So we do have three lines here. One error I did note when I was preparing this afternoon. Again, we don't have a legend item for the yellow line in the middle. That is defined as the city's minimum fund balance policy of 40%. So we do see the three lines. Again, that top orange line is the original budget. The black line is the unassigned. And again, as I mentioned, the 40% minimum. Again, I think really overall some good trend in the right direction here for the general fund. Again, over the 5-year period, increasing close to 30%. So I think overall things are going in the right direction for the city's general fund. Again, above for the past couple of years, that fund balance policy. Again, even though the budget doesn't continue to rise. Focus on 2024, we do show the final budget amount on the left-hand column, actual amounts in the middle, and the variance on the right-hand side. Again, this is just the general fund. Again, a lot of information, a lot of activity that goes into this. The city did approve a budget to be fairly flat or to decrease fund balance about 34 that. The main reason for that was some positive grant activity above budget with police, as well as some energy grants that were received and budgeted during the year. So overall, really positive year for the general fund, close to $2 million in ending fund balance. Next slide looks at the general fund revenues, expenditures, as well as transfers. Again, I won't spend a ton of time on this slide either, but we do just point things out here in kind of a bar chart format, looking at how things are in the general fund, where things are spread out. Again, starting with the left-hand side, looking at revenues, again, you can see a fairly even split with the city and its property taxes, as well as intergovernmental revenue, against some other transfers, charges for services, other minor things, kind of in that other category. The right-hand side, again, as we look at things with expenditures, again, I think this one's fairly consistent to a lot of communities, but that public safety line continues to go up, and a little bit more comparison to kind of some of those other categories as well. So I think nothing too significant jumps out in any of these kind of yearly increases and things that don't really need to be explained or to be pointed out specifically. So the next type of funds would be the special revenue funds. Again, the city does have a number of these. This does include the Economic Development Authority. It's kind of sub-funds. I think overall pretty much status quo in this special revenue funds. Again, that was somewhat to be expected. These resources are kind of set aside for or committed for future items. So again, I think nothing too significant to point out here. Again, reserves in total close to $1 million across all those funds. Next would be the city's capital project funds. So I'll explain a little bit on this one. Again, I think this one did see a little bit of an increase in total and overall capital project funds. The biggest increase, again, was the airport, was close to $850,000 in deficit in the prior year. That deficit did drop, although a majority or some of that would be some of the loans or the debt that was issued there. Again, I think the overall capital improvement fund, around $192,000. So again, not a significant portion of reserves in that fund for future capital purchases. And again, if we equate that to kind of the lower chart there, again, most of those resources that do exist are kind of assigned for future spending. Unassigned on the right-hand side of that chart really does show is a default category if things are negative, below zero. Any questions on that one? I'll keep moving on to the debt service funds. Again, a lot of information on this slide. What we do is we just compile all the debt service funds, what their total cash and total assets are currently, and compare that to the bonds outstanding in the maturity years. Again, I'd like to just point out the bonds outstanding and interest is quite a bit above the assets and cash. Again, future tax levies and collections and assessments and other things will kind of make up that difference. Again, I think as we look at the chart, again, there's a couple big years coming up with debt service payments. I think after those, I think debt starts to kind of drop off. So I think overall, good sign there, but something just to keep in mind for capital planning and looking at that levy in the future. Those amounts do continue to go up for those debt service payments in those few years. All right, so the next type of funds, again, would be the enterprise funds. I'm just going to explain these real quick. Again, we do see two charts on each one of these, except for the liquor store, but the cash flow from operations chart is on the top, where we compare operating receipts to operating costs and disbursements. Somewhat of our goal is really to just compare the rates, just overall operations and debt, just to see if those rates are sufficient. The bottom chart there really is a total cash chart, where we also have either restricted resources, that's kind of that yellow or orange line, and the minimum target balance, which would be defined as a following year's debt service payment plus 6 months of operation. Again, we feel that's kind of a low watermark for enterprise funds. So again, after saying all that, looking at the electric fund, I think again, that orange bar is continuing to match expenditures. Again, I think one thing to keep in mind that bar does continue to catch up to that a little bit. So something just to be aware of as that fund or the rates are considered in the future. I think overall the fund still does have good reserves, close to $4.5 million above the target. But again, we're looking at those costs continuing to go up and the electric revenue staying pretty consistent or decreasing slightly. Something to be aware of there. Next would be the water fund. Again, I think this one, one thing I was noting in my prep too is, I know for next year, I'd like to put the property tax receipts in here too, because I do think that's a piece of some of the debt payments, but, looking at the overall operating receipts, again, something just to keep in mind, going forward with those water rates and just looking at the overall cost related to the operations and debt. Because it does, as we equate that to kind of that second chart, looking at the cash balance in the water fund continuing to remain steady or to continue to decrease. And again, the legend is cut off in this chart too, but it is the same, that's 6 months of operations plus future years debt service. Next would be the sewer fund. Again, we can show those in two charts. Again, I think the margins are a little smaller on this one. Again, this one is supported somewhat by property taxes as well. So again, I think when all those things are considered, I think looking at the overall total cash balance, that has continued to go down a little bit over the past few years, but again, I think overall has remained fairly consistent. Again, is above that minimum target. Next one would be the liquor fund. Again, this one is a little bit different. Again, what we do is we just point out, pull the OSA state ratios based off of their website, kind of compare the city's fund to that. Again, there's a couple lines I like to point out, just looking at that overall gross profit number, kind of right in the middle. And looking again towards the bottom, or at the bottom of the income before transfers line. So, again, I think looking at the city of Granite Falls, when we look at those comparisons, I think the comparisons, one, continue to go down year over year. I think looking at Granite Falls, again, in 2024 red line, kind of what that is. And again, looking at the overall operating expenditures, again, the comparison is pretty strong, which gives us a pretty good number when we get to the income before transfers. Again, overall, pretty strong cash balance, been pretty consistent, and things seem to go up for the last year. The last, we don't want to forget, again, there are a couple other enterprise funds. We kind of just put a kind of a summary chart together here just to look at what the total cash, what the overall investment in capital assets is, and unrestricted fund balance. Again, I think overall these funds were pretty consistent every year, a little bit of a decrease in the community housing with some purchases and things there. But overall, pretty consistent with these funds year over year, with again a little bit of an increase in cash as well. All right, so the last slide, before I get into those KPIs, just looking at a total cash and investment balance chart. Again, I mentioned a lot of different types of funds and other things. I think closing with just what do we have in the bank, I think is a good way to kind of close before we get into that. Again, I think obviously, again, as I mentioned a couple times, a ton of activity that goes into running the city and things, but this is kind of a good snapshot of where things are at. I think overall, things have remained pretty consistent. Again, a trend certainly not the downward direction. Things remain pretty consistent and slowly trending up, which I think is positive. All right, so the last couple, again, our KPIs. Again, I always like to just point out that one city compares the exact way to one another. Again, we just put these numbers together just as comparison, just to kind of show. So the first one really does look at taxes. The first one is tax rate, which would really be focused on property values in comparison with the taxes. And again, I think overall, when we look at the city, definitely compares well with others in Medicine County. And we look at the class 4 cities under 10,000 population, again on the higher side, but again, that takes into account a lot of different types of cities as well. The taxes per capita is the second one. I think this one, again, really just is taxes divided by the number of residents in the community. Again, this one, I think, again, which was a little bit better formatted. But again, this one does continue to go up a little bit on a per resident basis. Again, it's just really information. Next one relates to, the next two relate to debt. The first one really is per capita, total debt divided by this number of people, number of residents. Again, this one continues to go down. I think certainly over the past few years, we've seen a good trend there. Was certainly in the 2020 range, higher compared to others. I think that continues to go down and is kind of reflective of just overall where the city's at in its growth plan and enterprise funds and other things. The next one is debt service expenditures as a percent of total. Again, this one really just focuses on non-enterprise debt. So this one would be kind of with governmental debt service funds, so taking out anything that would be in the last one we show, this one is called current expenditures per capita. Again, just like to just point out and put something together just to really look at. We talk about just, office members, public works staff, police, things of that nature, always a costing for the city as compared to others. And I think this one, we can see a pretty good consistency and again, when it compares to those others specifically, the county. One thing I'll just point out on all these charts, we would love to have the 2023 Office of the State Auditor data. It's not available. With that, I've reached the end of my presentation. Does anybody have any questions?
I do. So what caused our debt to like go through the moon in like 10 years ago?
Might be a better question for staff. To my knowledge,
Okay.
I think that there was a bond taken out most years related to street improvement projects.
Yeah. Yeah. Dan, back in the day, we did every year we did a, $1.5 to $2 million street project and things. And we're seeing the results of doing probably too much of that.
Yeah.
And that's why in the last couple of years, we've really scaled back and things. And just kind of looking at some of these graphs and things, you can really see how we've come to the positive in the last 2 years. And we're working in the right direction. But yeah, it was 10, 12 years ago. We did do a lot of street projects, and we did have a lot of infrastructure that we did do. And we looped some different water around for fire hydrants and stuff like this, kind of through the center of town. We did it there and things, and that's why Crystal and staff, and I mean, they've worked hard on the, cutting the budgets and things like this the last 2 years, and we sit here and kind of hash things over and, a little bit longer than we used to and things like that, just to, see if we really do need it and, different ways we can go so we can save some money. And it's very, very clear tonight with Justin's presentation that we've made some, very good decisions, and we're going the right direction, but, yeah, that's what happened there.
I think the water treatment plan was, 13 million? And that was done in 2013? Am I right? The year I'm right on, the dollar amount I'm not sure on.
Yeah,
Finished in 2013.
13, yeah,
That was,
yeah.
what, 13 million, was it, or 12 and a half or something?
Yeah,
It cost 3 times that today if we did it.
yeah,
30 million.
yeah.
I'm just curious, like, what caused ours to be 6 times higher than towns our size? That's what
Yeah.
my question is.
I do think that the only other answer I typically give is everybody's at a different life cycle and infrastructure.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of towns our size either that have their own utility, their own power generation, their
Yeah.
own, they
Yeah.
just don't have, or airports or anything like that. We
We've
got
done-
way more going on for
Yeah,
less than
a lot of,
1,000 people.
yeah, a lot of updates in the water treatment and the wastewater and the hydro plant and,
Sewer I and I for.
yeah, and a lot of that in, ever since we got, through that flood with the DNR and FEMA and everything and all this A&I that we gotta work on and things. We're kinda unique that way and things, but, I would say as far as like a water treatment plant, a lot of towns our size will be coming up to have that expense here in the next few years. And ours is done and behind us and probably built, like he said, at 30% of what they're gonna build it for now, and stuff. So that may play into it a little bit as well. Yeah, very good, Justin. Any other questions? Or Dan, you got more? Just,
I don't know, I'm just looking at these numbers, and it's just like the KPIs, and it's like, man, we're just high on everything.
No, and I do preface by saying at the beginning, when we look at class 4 cities, take pretty much every city in the state of Minnesota under 10,000 population. You exclude some of the ones on the really small ones, basically, so we say, for cash basis or whatnot. And I do think that when you, to the point
Thank you. Any other questions for Justin tonight? Okay, well, thank you very much. Appreciate everything you do.
Thank you.
Krista, thank you for doing a very good job, and Crystal and staff and everybody that works together on this and everything. We're definitely going the right direction, and we'll get there.
Awesome. Well, good luck with the rest of 25.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Justin.
Appreciate it.
You can just Yeah, well, it's fine.
There you go.
Let it drop. Yeah, thank you.
All right. Now we're gonna drop down and move on to vote yes for the YME committee. Come on up.
Please don't.
Jump with an obstacle, Jim.
Thank you.
Well, welcome.
Thank you. Appreciate you having us here tonight.
Absolutely. Well,
Thank you guys for having us. We're just going to start by introducing ourselves. My name is Jen Toole. I am a graduate of YME in the class of 2010. I am a parent to a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old who will be starting school in fall. And I also walk the halls with our students and staff every day as a speech language pathologist within the district.
And I'm Jeremy LeBlanc. I'm a 1994 graduate of Granite Parkfield, prior to Young Keys. Former parent, I have 6 children that have graduated through the district. I'm a member of the school board, but I come here tonight as an alumni and a parent and a community member.
So we're here tonight to share information with you regarding an important vote coming up for our school district. On August 12th, voters within the Yale Medicine East School District, will be asked to vote on a single question school bond referendum that addresses our aging school facilities. So I handed out to you a flyer that Vote Yes has put together, with noting some of the important pieces to us, as well as the flip side talks about our students and our future and some of the information that we feel is important to the public. So we're going to be referencing that a few times throughout our conversation tonight. We also want to be sure that you received the flyer from the school district that was sent out, and I believe mine came Friday or Saturday, so we hope that you've seen that as well. So first and foremost, last summer, I believe the district had a facilities assessment done, and it really showed our aging infrastructure, our failing electrical and sewer systems, and our out-of-date educational spaces. So at the top of this document, you will see district deficiencies, and that just lists a few additional pieces of that. And part of that is the original Y wings to our high school were built almost 100 years ago. So they were built in 1930, and then BRE was built in 1952. And so those things play a big factor in our buildings currently. So the district then presented this information to our community last fall, and they wanted to set up a facilities committee with the hopes of gaining 20 people from the community that would be interested, and 40 plus people stepped up to be a part of that committee. So it really showed that our community is supportive and wants to know more information to benefit our students. So we met all the way through the winter. Jeremy and I were both a part of that as well. And we evaluated plans. So we ranged at looking at bringing up our current facility up to code, which costs $30 million alone, all the way to purchasing new property and building a new building on new property, which was over $100 million. So we really tried to find that balance, and we recommended to the school board that we utilize the usable portions of our current building while replacing the oldest and the past its lifetime portions. So if you kind of look at the one unified building piece on this document, the parts in like the light orange color labeled number 4, the auxiliary gym, which was donated to us in 2019, the Esplin gym, which we all reference as the new gym, but was built in 1980. And then the cafeteria is behind that, right where the number 4 is, and then there is some adjoining classroom spaces there that we felt were usable and that we could continue to update a little bit, but continue to use.
Based on the recommendations from the facilities committee, school board took that information and didn't want to just push on the community. We really wanted to find out what was going on in the community, how did people feel about it. So we put out a survey, and many of you maybe saw that survey. The survey average for returning those surveys to the company we used is 17%. We received 22% of the survey back. So it was a pretty overwhelming response from surveys, which was really great. Of that result, 58% of the respondents were in favor of a $75 million bond. So with that positive information, the district decided, okay, the committee has taken a look at this, they recommended this, the community supports it in the survey, so we're going to issue a bond referendum vote for, it ends up being $74,395,000. That will be the question on the ballot. So what does that mean for the average cost for the homeowner? We do have, if you go to our website, the school district has a website and Vote Yes Wyoming has a website. There is a tax calculator on the school district website where you can take your P&ID number for your property, plug it in, and it will tell you exactly what your tax impact is going to be for vote. But the cost of the average district in the home, the average district in the home is $250,000. So what that means for that home is $18 a month, $220 a year. So compared to the cost, we find that relatively appealing. So for farmers, there's an egg school tax credit. There's a lot of questions around the egg school tax credit, so we can best explain it. For the egg school tax credit, the state outside of, so 1 acre of the homestead property for the farmers is taxed at the regular rate. Everything else for eggland is taxed where the state will give a 70% credit for the tax impact of the referendum for that land. So what does that mean for us? That means 53% of our project, if approved, will be covered by the state of Minnesota, which is made up of all the taxpayers in all the state of Minnesota. Many schools are taking advantage of this. It is in state statute. We had a pretty tough legislature session this past time around, and it was not even talked about. So this is a pretty secure tax credit that's on it. It's bipartisan. It's been bipartisan for many years. So the state will cover approximately 40 million of our project because of that one. We talked about taxes a little bit. You guys talked about taxes a little bit in your audit report. Wyoming, as a school district, pays the lowest taxes of surrounding districts. We compared ourselves to all of our neighboring districts: Marshall, Dawson Boyd, Montevideo, Lac Paro, Bold, McCray, RCW, and we were the lowest. We're lower than the state average. Now, if this bond is passed, of course, we will be in the middle or on the higher end of that, but we will not be the highest in the region. The Elements and East schools, they're the heart of our region, not just physically, but emotionally and socially, and economically. Our schools are a key part of attracting and retaining families and retaining professional talent in our communities. Right now, we have around 400 students open enrolled out of our district. Investing in our schools is one of the best ways to help turn that trend around. The districts that have done this, RTR is a great example. They were declining enrollment. They opened the school. It turned their enrollment around in just a really short amount of time. They're actually adding on because their enrollment has increased so much.
Yeah, so we just wanted to extend an invitation to you guys to be a part of our Vote Yes committee as well. We're doing a lot of community events to really get the information out there so that people are aware, and we're not here to hide anything. We really want people to know and to support what is coming into our school district. So right now we are really asking for your support, your yes vote, and for your help in spreading the word. Our early voting begins on June 27th, which is next Friday, at the Yellow Medicine County Government Center. And then election day will be on August 12th at the Kilowatt Community Center in Granite. Do you guys have any questions for us regarding any information at this time?
Is there a polling station in Clarkfield?
No. Well, the city of Parkfield will have a mail-in ballot because they have an additional question being asked on their ballot on that day. So if you're within city limits.
I'll just say I've sat in on a few meetings that the schools put on, and Rich has done a tremendous job, giving the information out, and you guys all have done a very good job, and it's all spelled out, and I mean, this is the year to make it work and the timing and everything. And the school's a big part for the town and, you know, the town needs the school and things. And, yeah, I just think it's a great deal and I hope it all works out.
I know the school is offering tours. If you want to look at the meeting, that we had on the 10th, they're offering tours.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for either one of them here tonight? Okay. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate it, and good luck on everything. You're doing a great job. Okay. We're going to move on back up to 5A. On the reports, the EDA board.
Just information enclosed, there is one action item, but that's later on the agenda under 6B1.
Okay, and we'll take that at that time then, when we get down there, okay. Now, looking here for some motions, we got 6A1, Blue Nose fence expansion request.
Blue Nose is asking for council approval to allow additional use of the back parking lot on July 24th. This is specifically to accommodate the MS Bike group for outdoor music from 7 to 9 p.m. From my understanding, it's not to block off like traffic flow, but to extend it kind of more of what they had before it was shortened back.
Okay,
I make the motion.
okay, we have a motion, is there a second?
I'll second that.
And a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, thank you. Now we got number 2 here. It's a Yes House food truck for their event that's happening on June 26th.
This is for their Pride event being held. They're asking if council is okay with blocking off 2 parking spaces for a food truck from 6 to 10 p.m. The truck would have to set up roughly about an hour sooner, so around 5 p.m.
Okay,
2 spots right in front of their.
Correct.
building.
Yep.
I'll make the motion to approve.
all right. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right. Now we're going to go to resolutions here, 6B, and that's the EDA one with the JS Ventures.
Yes, so this would be for the bowling alley. They asked for an EDA loan in the amount of $23,808. The purpose would be for relining of their sewer piping. They've been having issues on and off for a good handful of years now, and with an interest rate of 5%. So per past practice, the EDA would bring the recommendation to the loan to council for final approval.
A little more clarification, she had originally had a $35,000 loan, has paid it down to 7. We're adding 23 for the repairs, so we're gonna go back up to 30, and
Okay.
there's been no late payments that I'm aware of that were discussed anyways, so.
No, we haven't
Okay.
had an issue of late payments.
Okay. Very good information, thank you. Okay, any other discussion there? Okay, anybody like to offer a resolution?
So move.
And a second, thank you. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, thank you. Now, we are down to, anything else to come before council tonight?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you.
Thank you for helping select a caller.
Need a motion on that?